Chapter 2. Is matter around us pure? How do we judge whether milk, ghee, butter, salts, spices, mineral water, or juice that we buy from the market are pure? Have you ever noticed the word pure written on the packs of these consumables? For a common person, pure means having no adulteration, but for a scientist, all these things are actually mixtures of different substances and hence not pure. For example, milk is actually a mixture of water, fat, proteins, etc. When a scientist says that something is pure, it means that all the constituent particles of that substance are the same in their chemical nature. A pure substance consists of a single type of particles. In other words, a substance is pure single form of matter. As we look around, we can see that the most of the matter around us exists as mixtures of two or more pure components. For example, seawater, minerals, soil, etc. are all mixtures. 2.1. What is a mixture? Mixtures are constituted by more than one kind of pure form of matter. We know that dissolved sodium chloride can be separated from water by the physical process of evaporation. However, sodium chloride is itself a substance and cannot be separated by physical process into its chemical constituents. Similarly, sugar is a substance which contains only one kind of pure matter and its composition is the same throughout. Soft drink and soil are not single substances. Whatever the source of a substance may be, it will always have the same characteristic properties. Therefore, we can say that a mixture contains more than one substance. 2.11. Types of mixtures. Depending upon the nature of the components that form a mixture, we can have different types of mixtures. Activity 2.1. Let us divide the class into groups A, B, C and D. Groups A takes a beaker containing 50 ml of water and 1 spatula full of copper sulfate powder. Group B takes 50 ml of water and 2 spatula full of copper sulfate powder in a beaker. Group C and D can take different amounts of copper sulfates and potassium permanganate or common salt, sodium chloride and mix the given components to form a mixture. Report the observations on the uniformity in the color and texture. Groups A and B have obtained a mixture which has a uniform composition throughout. Such mixtures are called homogeneous mixtures or solutions. Some other examples of such mixtures: salt dissolved in water and sugar dissolved in water. Compare the color of the solutions of the two groups. Though both the groups have obtained copper sulfate solution, but the intensity of the color of the solutions is different. This shows that a homogeneous mixture can have a variable composition. Group C and D have obtained mixtures which contain physically distinct parts and have non-uniform compositions. Such mixtures are called heterogeneous mixtures. Mixtures of sodium chloride and iron fillings, salt and sulfur, and oil and water are examples of heterogeneous mixtures. Activity 2.2. Let us again divide the class into 4 groups A, B, C and D. Distribute the following samples to each group. Few crystals of copper sulfate to group A, 1 spatula full of copper sulfate to group B, chalk powder or wheat flour to group C. Few drops of milk or ink to group D. Each group should add the given sample in water and stir properly using a glass rod. Are the particles in the mixture visible? Direct a beam of light from a torch through the beaker containing the mixture and observe from the front. Was the path of the beam of light visible? Leave the mixtures undisturbed for a few minutes and set up the filtration apparatus in the meantime. Is the mixture stable or do the particles begin to settle after some time? Filter the mixture. Is there any residue on the filter paper? Discuss the results and form an opinion. Groups A and B have got a solution. Group C has got a suspension. Group D has got a colloidal solution. Now we shall learn about solutions, suspensions and colloidal solutions in the following sections. 2.2. What is a solution? A solution is a homogeneous mixture of two or more substances. You come across various types of solutions in your daily life. Lemonade, soda, water, etc. are all examples of solutions. Usually we think of a solution as a liquid that contains either a solid, liquid or a gas dissolved in it. But we can also have solid solutions, that is alloys, and gaseous solutions, that is air. In a solution, there is a homogeneity at the particle level. For example, lemonade tastes the same throughout. This shows that particles of sugar or salt are evenly distributed in the solution. A solution has a solvent and solute as its components. The component of the solution that dissolve the other component in it. Usually the component present in larger amount is called the solvent. The component of the solution that is dissolved in the solvent usually present in the lesser quantity is called the solute. Examples: a solution of sugar in water is a solid in liquid solution. In this solution, sugar is the solute and water is the solvent. A solution of iodine in alcohol known as tincture of iodine has iodine that is solid as the solute and alcohol as liquid as the solvent. Aerated drinks like soda water, etc. are gas in liquid solutions. These contain carbon dioxide as gas as solute and water liquid as solvent. Air is a mixture of gas in gas. Air is a homogeneous mixture of number of gases. Its two main constituents are oxygen 21% and nitrogen 78%. The other gases are present in very small quantities. Properties of solution. A solution is a homogeneous mixture. The particles of a solution are smaller than 1 nanometer, 10⁻⁻19 meter in diameter, so they cannot be seen by naked eyes. Because of very small particle size, they do not scatter a beam of light passing through the solution, so the path of light is not visible in a solution. The solute particles cannot be separated from the mixture by the process of filtration. The solute particles do not settle down when left undisturbed, that is, a solution is stable. 2.2.1 Concentration of solution. In activity 2.2, we observed that groups A and B obtain different shades of solutions. So, we understand that in a solution, the relative proportion of the solute and solvent can be varied. Depending upon the amount of solute present in a solution, it can be called a dilute, concentrated or a saturated solution. Dilute and concentrated are comparative terms. In activity 2.2, the solution obtained by A is dilute as compared to that obtained by group B. Activity 2.3. Take approximately 50 ml of water each in two separate beakers. Add salt in one beaker and sugar or barium chloride in the second beaker with continuous stirring. When no more solute can be dissolved, heat the content of the beaker to rise the temperature by about 5 degrees Celsius. Start adding the solute again. Is the amount of salt and sugar or barium chloride that can be dissolved in water at the given temperature the same? At any particular temperature, a solution that has dissolved as much as solute as it is capable of dissolving is said to be saturated solution. In other words, when no more solute can be dissolved in a solution at a given temperature, it is called a saturated solution. The amount of the solute present in the saturated solution at this temperature is called its solubility. If the amount of solute contained in a solution is less than the saturation level, it is called an unsaturated solution. What would happen if you were to take a saturated solution at a certain temperature and cool it slowly? We can infer from the above activity that different substances in a given solvent have different solubilities at the same temperature. The concentration of solution is the amount of solute present in a given amount of solution. There are various ways of expressing the concentration of a solution, but here we will learn only two methods. First one, mass by mass percentage of a solution is equal to mass of a solute divided by mass of a solution into 100. Second one, mass by volume percentage of a solution is equal to mass of solute divided by volume of solution into 100. Third one, volume by volume percentage of a solution is equal to volume of a solute divided by volume of a solution into 100. 2.2.2 What is a suspension? Non-homogeneous systems like those obtained by group C in activity 2.2, in which solids are dispersed in liquids, are called suspensions. A suspension is a heterogeneous mixture in which the solute particles do not dissolve but remain suspended throughout the bulk of the medium. Particles of a suspension are visible to the naked eye. Properties of a suspension. Suspension is a heterogeneous mixture. The particles of suspension can be seen by the naked eye. The particles of suspension scatter a beam of light passing through it and make its path visible. The solid particles settle down when a suspension is left undisturbed, that is, a suspension is unstable. They can be separated from a mixture by the process of filtration. When the particles settle down, the suspension breaks and it does not scatter light anymore. 2.2.3 What is a colloidal solution? The mixtures obtained by group D in activity 2.2 is called a colloidal or a colloidal solution. Colloid or colloidal solution. The particles of a colloid are uniformly spread throughout the solution. Due to the relatively small size of particles as compared to that of a suspension, the mixtures appears to be homogeneous. But actually, a colloidal solution is a heterogeneous mixture. For example, milk. Because of the small size of colloidal particles, we cannot see them with the naked eye. But these particles can easily scatter a beam of visible light as observed in activity 2.2. This scattering of a beam of light is called Tyndall effect, after the name of the scientist who discovered this effect. Tyndall effect can also be observed when a fine beam of light enters a room through a small hole. This happens due to the scattering of light by the particles of dust and smoke in the air. Tyndall effect can be observed when sunlight passes through the canopy of a dense forest. In the forest, mist contains tiny droplets of water which act as particles of colloid dispersed in air. Properties of a colloid. A colloid is a heterogeneous mixture. The size of particles of a colloid is too small to be individually seen by naked eyes. Colloids are big enough to scatter a beam of light passing through it and makes its path visible. They do not settle down when left undisturbed, that is, a colloid is quite stable. They cannot be separated from the mixtures by the process of filtration, but a special technique of separation known as centrifugation can be used to separate the colloidal particles. The components of colloidal solution are the dispersed phase and the dispersion medium. The solute-like component or the dispersed particles in a colloid form the dispersed phase, and the component in which the dispersed phase is suspended is known as the dispersing medium. Colloids are classified according to the state, solid, liquid or gas, of the dispersing medium and the dispersed phase. A few common examples are given in the table 2.2. From this table, you can see that they are very common everyday life. Table 2.1 Common examples of colloids. Dispersed phase, dispersing medium. Type example: liquid, gas, aerosol, fog, clouds, mist. Solid, gas, aerosol, smoke, automobile, exhaust. Gas, liquid, foam, shaving cream. Liquid, emulsion, milk face cream. Solid, liquid, zole, milk of magnesia, mud. Gas, solid, foam rubber, sponge, pumice. Liquid, solid, gel, jelly, cheese, butter. Solid zole, colored gemstone, milky, glass. 2.3 Separating the components of a mixture. We have learned that most of the natural substances are not chemically pure. Different methods of separation are used to get individual components from a mixture. Separation makes it possible to study and use the individual components of a mixture. Heterogeneous mixtures can be separated into their respective constituents by simple physical methods like handpicking, sieving, filtration that we use in our day-to-day life. Sometimes special techniques have to be used for separation of the components of a mixture. 2.3.1 How can we obtain colored component, that is dye, from blue or black pen? Activity 2.4 Fill half a beaker with water. Put a watch glass on the mouth of the beaker. Figure 2.5 Put few drops of ink on the watch glass. Now start heating the beaker. We do not want to heat the ink directly. You will see that evaporation is taking place from the watch glass. Continue heating as evaporation goes and stop heating when you do not see any further change on the watch glass. Observe carefully and record your observations. We find that ink is a mixture of dye in water. Thus, we can separate the volatile component solvent from its non-volatile solute by the method of evaporation. 2.3.2 How can we separate cream from milk? Nowadays, we get full cream, toned and double toned varieties of milk packed in polypacks or tetra packs in the market. These varieties of milk contain different amounts of fat. Activity 2.5 Take some full cream in a test tube. Centrifuge it by using a centrifuging machine for 2 minutes. If a centrifuging machine is not available in the school, you can do this activity at home by using a milk churner used in the kitchen. If you have a milk dairy nearby, visit it and ask how they separate cream from the milk and how they make cheese or paneer from milk. Sometimes the solid particles in a liquid are very small and pass through a filter paper. For such particles, the filtration technique cannot be used for separation. Such mixtures are separated by centrifugation. The principle is that the denser particles are forced to the bottom and the lighter particles stay at the top when spun rapidly. Applications used in diagnostic laboratories for blood and urine tests, used in dairies and home to separate butter from cream, used in washing machines to squeeze out water from the wet cloths. 2.3.3 How can we separate a mixture of two immiscible liquids? Activity 2.6 Let us try to separate kerosene oil from the water using a separating funnel. Pour the mixture of a kerosene oil and water in a separating funnel. Figure 2.6 Let it stand undisturbed for some time so that separate layers of oil and water are formed. Open the stopcock of the separating funnel and pour out the lower layer of water carefully. Close the topcock of the separating funnel as the oil reaches the stopcock. Applications To separate mixtures of oil and water in the extraction of iron from its ore, the lighter slag is removed from the top by this method to leave the molten iron at the bottom in the furnace. The principle is that immiscible liquids separate out in a layer depending on their densities. 2.3.4 How can we separate a mixture of salt and ammonium chloride? We have learnt in chapter 1 that camphor changes directly from solid to gas state on heating. So, to separate such mixtures that contain a sublimable volatile component from a non-sublimable impurity, the sublimation process is used. Figure 2.7 Some examples of solids which sublime are ammonium chloride, naphthalene and anthracene. 2.3.5 Is the dye in black ink a single color? Activity 2.7 Take a thin strip of filter paper. Draw a line on it using a pencil approximately 3 cm above the lower edge. Figure 2.8a Put a small drop of ink, water soluble, that is from a sketch pen or fountain pen, at the center of the line. Let it dry. Lower the filter paper into a jar or glass or a beaker. Test tube containing water so that the drop of ink on the paper is just above the water level, as shown in the figure 2.8b, and leave it undisturbed. Watch carefully as the water rises up on the filter paper. Record your observations. The ink that we use has water as the solvent and dye is soluble in it. As the water rises on the filter paper, it takes along with it the dye particles. Usually a dye is a mixture of two or more colors. The colored component that is more soluble in water rises faster, and in this way the colors get separated. This process of separation of components of a mixture is known as chromatography. Chroma in Greek means color. This technique was first used for separation of colors, so this name was given. Chromatography is the technique used for separation of those solids that dissolve in the same solvent. With the advancement in technology, newer techniques of chromatography have been developed. We will study about chromatography in higher classes. Applications to separate colors in dye, pigments from natural colors, drugs from blood. 2.3.6 How can we separate a mixture of two miscible liquids? Activity 2.8 Let us try to separate acetone and water from their mixture. Take the mixture in a distillation flask, fit it with a thermometer. Arrange the apparatus as shown in the figure 2.9. Heat the mixture slowly, keeping a close watch at the thermometer. The acetone vaporizes, condenses in the condenser and can be collected from the condenser outlet. Water is left behind the distillation flask. This method is called distillation. It is used for the separation of components of a mixture containing two miscible liquids that boil without decomposition and have sufficient difference in their boiling points. To separate a mixture of two or more miscible liquids for which the difference in boiling points is less than 25 K, fractional distillation process is used. For example, for the separation of different gases from air, different fractions from petroleum products, etc. The apparatus is similar to that for simple distillation, except that a fractionating column is fitted in between the distillation flask and the condenser. A simple fractionating column is a tube packed with glass beads. The beads provide surface for the vapors to cool and condense repeatedly, as shown in the figure 2.10. 2.3.7 How can we obtain different gases from air? Air is a homogeneous mixture and can be separated into its components by fractional distillation. The flow diagram figure 2.11 shows the steps of the process. Air compress and cool by increasing pressure and decreasing temperature. Liquid air allowed to warm up slowly in a fractional distillation column. Gases get separated at different heights. Boiling point: oxygen minus 183, argon minus 186, nitrogen minus 196. Percentage air by volume 20.9, 78.1. If we want oxygen gas from air, we have to separate out all the other gases present in air. The air is compressed by increasing the pressure and is then cooled by decreasing the temperature to get liquid air. This liquid air is allowed to warm up slowly in a fractional distillation column, where gases get separated at different heights depending upon their boiling points. Answer the following questions. Arrange the gases present in air in increasing order of their boiling points. Which gas forms the liquids first as the air is cooled? 2.3.8 How can we obtain pure copper sulfate from an impure sample? Activity 2.9 Take some approximately 5 gram impure sample of copper sulfate in a china dish. Dissolve it in a minimum amount of water. Filter the impurities out. Evaporate water from copper sulfate solutions so as to get a saturated solution. Cover the solution with a filter paper and leave it undisturbed at room temperature to cool slowly for a day. You will obtain the crystals of copper sulfate in the china dish. This process is called crystallization. The crystallization method is used to purify solids. For example, the salt we get from seawater can have many impurities in it. To remove these impurities, the process of crystallization is used. Crystallization is a process that separates a pure solid in the form of its crystal from a solution. Crystallization technique is better than simple evaporation technique, as some solids decompose or some, like sugar, may get charred on heating to dryness. Some impurities may remain dissolved in the solution even after filtration. On the evaporation, these contaminate the solid. Applications: purification of salt that we get from seawater, separation of crystals of alum, Fitkari from impure samples. Thus, by choosing one of the above methods according to the nature of the components of a mixture, we get a pure substance. With advancements in technology, many more methods of separation techniques have been devised. In cities, drinking water is supplied from the water works. A flow diagram of a typical water works is shown in figure 2.13. From this figure, write down the process involved to get the supply of drinking water to your home from the water works and discuss it in your class. 2.4 Physical and chemical changes. In the previous chapter, we have learnt about a few physical properties of matter. The properties that can be observed and specified, like color, hardness, rigidity, fluidity, density, melting point, boiling point, etc., are the physical properties. The interconvention of states is a physical change because these changes occur without a change in composition and no change in the chemical nature of the substance. Although ice, water and water vapor all look different and display different physical properties, they are chemically the same. Both water and cooking oil are liquid, but their chemical characteristics are different. They differ in odor and inflammability. We know that oil burns in air, whereas water extinguishes fire. It is this chemical property of oil that makes it different from water. Burning is a chemical change. During this process, one substance reacts with another to undergo a change in chemical composition. Chemical change brings change in the chemical properties of matter and we get new substances. A chemical change is also called a chemical reaction. During burning of a candle, both physical and chemical changes takes place. Can you distinguish these? 2.5 What are the types of pure substances? On the basis of their chemical composition, substances can be classified either as elements or components. 2.5.1 Elements. Robert Boyle was the first scientist to use the term element in 1661. Antoine Laurent Lavoisier, a French chemist, was the first to establish an experimentally useful definition of an element. He defined an element as a basic form of matter that can be broken down into simple substances by chemical reactions. Elements can be normally divided into metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. Metals usually show some or all of the following properties. They have a luster, shine, they have silvery gray or golden yellow color, they conduct heat and electricity, they are ductile, can be drawn into wires, they are malleable, can hammered into thin sheets, they are sonorous, making a ringing sound when hit. Examples of metals are gold, silver, copper, iron, sodium, potassium, etc. Mercury is the only metal that is liquid at room temperature. Non-metals usually show some or all of the following properties. They display a variety of colors. They are poor conductors of heat and electricity. They are not lustrous, sonorous, or malleable. Examples of nonmetals are hydrogen, oxygen, iodine, carbon, coal, coke, bromine, chlorine, etc. Some elements have intermediate properties between those of metals and nonmetals. They are called metalloids. Examples are boron, silicon, germanium, etc. 2.5.2 Compounds. A compound is a substance composed of two or more elements chemically combined with one another in a fixed proportion. What do we get when two or more elements are combined? Activity 2.10 Divide the class into two groups. Give 5 grams of iron filings and 3 grams of sulfur powder in a china dish to both the groups. Group 1 mix and crush iron filings and sulfur powder. Group 2 mix and crush iron filings and sulfur powder. Heat this mixture strongly till red hot. Remove from flame and let the mixture cool. Group 1 and 2 check for magnetism in the material obtained. Bring a magnet near the material and check if the material is attracted towards the magnet. Compare the texture and color of the material obtained by the groups. Add carbon disulfide to one part of the material obtained. Stir well and filter. Add dilute sulfuric acid or dilute hydrochloric acid to the other part of the material obtained. Perform all the above steps with both the elements separately. Table 2.2 Mixtures and components. Difference between mixture and compounds. Mixtures, elements or compounds just mix together to form a mixture and no new compound is formed. Second, a mixture has a variable composition. Third, a mixture shows the properties of the constituent substances. Fourth, the constituents can be separated fairly easily by physical methods. Compounds. First, elements react to form new compounds. Second, the composition of each new substance is always fixed. Third, the new substance has totally different properties. Fourth, the constituent can be separated only by chemical or electrochemical reactions. The gas obtained by group 1 is hydrogen. It is colorless, odorless and combustible. It is not advised to do combustion test for hydrogen in the class. The gas obtained by group 2 is hydrogen sulfide. It is a colorless gas with the smell of rotten eggs. You must have observed that the products obtained by both the groups show different properties. Though the starting materials were the same, group 1 has carried out the activity involving a physical change, whereas in case of group 2, a chemical reaction has taken place. The material obtained by group 1 is a mixture of the two substances. The substances given are the elements iron and sulfur. The properties of the mixtures are the same as that of its constituents. The material obtained by group 2 is a compound. On heating the two elements strongly, we get a compound which has totally different properties compared to the combining elements. The composition of a compound is the same throughout. We can also observe that the texture and color of the compound are the same throughout. Thus, we can summarize the physical and chemical nature of matter in the following graphical organizer. Is matter, solid, liquid or gas, pure substance, mixtures. Elements, compounds, homogeneous, heterogeneous. Elements cannot be broken down to simpler substances. For example, copper, oxygen, iron, hydrogen, mercury, etc. Compounds have fixed composition, can be broken down into elements by chemical or electrochemical reactions. For example, water, methane, sugar, salt, etc. Homogeneous, uniform composition. For example, sugar in water, salt in water, sulfur in carbon disulfide, water in alcohol, etc. Heterogeneous, non-uniform composition. For example, sand and salt, sugar and salt, water in oil, etc. Thank you.